But these days I work almost exclusively with teacher education. So I guess you could say I'm also equally passionate about connecting with other like-minded and dedicated ELT professionals. So that's why it's such an honor to be here with this international group of educators. I've always said that my mission was to transform the way we teach language to children. Well, I never expected that it would be quite so quick or under such challenging circumstances as these, but I mean, here we are, right? I'm very grateful to be able to connect with you all, especially those of you who are joining me here today and are in the classrooms working so hard to find alternative ways of providing ongoing education for students in this new online format. So hello to all of my colleagues who are joining me from Brazil. I'm just going to have a quick look at the comments here. So there are a lot of young learner teachers joining us today. Maria is teaching children between 6 and 13. We've got some grade 5 teachers here, so that's probably around 10 years old. Hello, Soraya. It's lovely to see you, Sol. We've got, someone from Campinas in Brazil as well. Are you all young learner teachers? Are you teaching synchronously, asynchronously at the moment? A lot of Brazilians here, some people from Belo Horizonte, hello, grade 7 teachers. So lots of young learner teachers here. Some colleagues from Brazil. Is there anyone from school management joining us here today? It would be wonderful if it was, because I feel like this session is particularly relevant to anyone working in coordination or management, school management. Because this talk is about developing strong school and family partnerships. And I've always believed that this is important, but now more than ever. I see clearly just how essential this is to the success of any remote learning or teaching experience. So that's what we're going to be looking at in this webinar. Specifically, what I'd like to cover in the next 50 minutes or so is this. We're going to be looking or exploring this idea of school community and why we need it now more than ever. I'd also like us to understand the difference between family involvement and family engagement. And we'll also, of course, be looking at a range of very practical ways that you can enrich communication with families and involve them and ultimately engage them as partners in this remote learning process. How does that sound to you all? I hope you're ready. I'm not just talking about this from the point of view of the educator today. This is something that I have been experiencing firsthand as the parent of a beautiful young boy. So I have actually prepared this talk from a place of great empathy for both sides. The reason I think this is such an important issue right now is that this initial shock of remote teaching, I feel, has passed. We're a few weeks in now, and what I've noticed is that there seems to be a very big gap between home and school. In fact, dealing with parents and caregivers seems to be a very common complaint among the teachers in my community. It's a challenge that we're now facing, and it's one that I'd like to address. And I'd like to actually hear from you as well about how you're addressing this. I wonder how many of you can relate to the following quotes. I have a poll here that Emily's going to pull up for me. And if none of these relate to you, go ahead and share your experiences in the comments. But what I'd like you to do is actually respond to this poll. And the question I'm putting to you all is this: what kinds of difficulties have you been experiencing in dealing with families? Throughout this talk, I should probably let you know too, I might use the term parents, caregivers, or families. But what I'm referring to are any of the adults or the care providers of our young learners. So I will use those terms, but I do respect this wide diversity of family structures. So let me hear from you. While you're answering this poll, I'm very curious to hear this, I'd like to share with you some quotes that I've heard from teachers. And these are actually direct, real quotes. that I've had that I've heard teachers saying in my Facebook group. So here's the first one. Emily, do you think? Thanks, Emily. I haven't had much direct contact with parents so far. A few weeks in and no real communication with parents. I used to give 2-hour classes to a group of 5-year-olds. The parents demanded the same thing online. Now it isn't working and they're blaming me. This is actually a lot more common than I'd like to believe. Some parents are struggling with the technology. Does that sound familiar? I received some of the rudest comments from parents. This one was very, very saddening for me. There is this one mother who interrupts every lesson. Do you have someone like that in your classes? None of the parents have time to help their children with classwork. This is a really tough one. This is a really tough one. So these are the kinds of things that I'm seeing happening here. Let's have a look at the results of some of this polls to see how you're all going. Confusion from parents. Oh, they only want to keep their kids busy. Too many complaints about trying to use technology. That's a big one. Parents saying kids are overscheduled. Unfamiliar with technology. Some parents have difficulty. Okay, so lots of problems with technology. This is a really common thing, isn't it? Lack of interest for the online activities. Ouch. If they knew how long we were taking to prepare these lessons. Lack of interest from parents for sure. Ooh, this is tough. This is tough. All of these things sound very familiar to me. It's interesting. Not only do they sound familiar to me as a teacher, remember what I said earlier about being a parent myself? I'm sure that many of the teachers here also have children at home too, right? So you'll know as well as I do that for every complaint I've shared here about families, the same could be said about teachers. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. I, for one, don't feel like I don't feel like I personally am getting it right with my son's school, or they're getting it right with me. I'm feeling a massive gap between my home and my son's school. So I could also, in fact, Emily knows this, yesterday I actually had a meeting with my son's teacher and the coordinator to try and address this issue. It is very real, people, this problem. And I have simultaneously been working on a playbook, which was published recently, for remote emergency teaching. And what I've come to realize is it doesn't matter how good your lesson is. Right now, if you do not have a good relationship with families at home, it is very hard to make anything work. There's no use in us getting on the complaint train, though. I think if we start creating this negative mindset and we start getting too caught up in the problems, this is going to prevent us from creating any kind of genuine partnership. Yes, there is plenty of tension points right now between home and school, but the most powerful thing we can do right now is to show patience and empathy. Patience and empathy for the school, for your children, for the parents, but also for yourself. So with this spirit, I would like to move forward with the rest of this session and really have a look now, not just these quotes that teachers are saying, but let's now have a look at the family situation. Why is it that it is so important for us to include parents and to engage parents? There's no doubt about the important role that parents and caregivers play in their children's school lives. There's just no doubt. This is something that has plenty of evidence-based research from schools and education systems around the world. As this quote says, the extent, or this is like the most accurate predictor of student achievement in school is actually the extent to which the family creates a home environment that encourages learning and communicates high yet reasonable expectations for the children's for the child's achievement and becomes involved in the children's education. You see, the students are not and have never been the only stakeholders in the young learner classroom. But if I'm honest, I think perhaps until now it's been much easier for teachers to just, get on with it, and for parents to just kind of leave us to it. It's all changed. It's all changed now, and it's been almost overnight that this change has happened. Suddenly, this shift to emergency remote teaching has made it painfully obvious that without a genuine partnership between home and school, this whole experience is not likely going to be a successful one. Now, we need parents now more than ever, because they are the ones who are helping their children, your students, participate in the live meetings. They're the ones supporting them with any other work you assign. They're making sure the work is completed. And all the while, they have to also keep their children healthy and happy and learning during this very tense time, during this lockdown. We need their support right now, but you know what? They need ours too. And now I'm speaking as a mother. Parents need support from the school as well to make this work. So I'm just taking a minute to have a quick look at some of the comments here. It feels like what I'm saying is really hitting home with a lot of you. So with that in mind, let's move forward now and have a look at this difference between involving or engaging. And let me start by telling you a little story. I felt so frustrated watching my son struggling to adapt to the new at-home format that his school has adopted. The particular way they're going about this, he's fallen behind. He's fallen way behind. And this has made him stressed with the whole situation. He often cries because he feels like he will never catch up. This kid is now having to work on Saturdays and Sundays to try and do a little bit every day to try and catch up. And I've told his teacher this, but the classwork keeps getting posted to the learning environment, the virtual learning environment every day, and he never seems to be able to do enough. The answer that I've gotten from the school is that they have to share this much content because they need to minimize how much the students will lose during this period. What they don't seem to have understood is that my son is losing opportunities to learn because he's an 11-year-old child who's not mature enough for this level of responsibility regarding his own learning. And that left me, I have to be honest, it left me feeling quite angry, not because the school doesn't seem to be getting it right. I don't think they are getting it quite right, but who is right now? We're all doing our best. So that's not what got me mad. What made me feel very frustrated is it feels like I'm not being heard. It feels like I am currently the best person in a position to inform the school of the reality of their student, and I'm not being heard. So just like my son's school, I know that many educators and school management teams feel they're already doing their bit to involve parents. I'm asking you now, sending home emails, does any of this sound familiar? Is your school sending emails to regularly keep families updated? Whenever there is a problem, are you available to talk to parents when there's problems? There might even be a special app that the school's using that parents can talk to the school if they need help. The school is doing all of these things as well. But there is a difference. What research tells us, and what this experience has taught me, is that these actions alone are not enough to create the kind of school-family connections that are going to raise student achievement, that are going to help children right now do better, learn from home. For this remote teaching and learning experience to be successful, I'm going to say it again, we can and we must do better. So what would you say the difference is between involvement and engagement? Now, I actually really like this metaphor that Larry Filazzo uses to explain the difference. He uses this kind of ears, mouth metaphor. He says that a school striving for family involvement often leads with its mouth. It's the one that's identifying the projects, the needs, the goals, and then it's telling parents how they can contribute, right? A school striving for parent engagement, on the other hand, tends to lead with its ears. It listens to what parents think, what they dream, and what they worry about. I can't think of a more important time to be listening to families than now. Both involvement and engagement are useful. We could perhaps see parent involvement as the first step towards engagement. So you do want to be leading parents, advising parents, supporting parents, telling parents what to do. We are educators. We're in a very good position of being able to inform parents. But at some point, we need to engage them. We need to create a kind of partnership that is going to improve the effectiveness of this remote teaching and learning experience. Just like in the example that I gave about my son's school. Educators can get involved and support families by guiding them with what to do, but it's not enough. Parents are in a unique position that they can give us insights about what's happening at home because we're not there to see it. Well, thank you very much for listening to what very much felt like a little bit of a rant there. It was good to get that off my chest, and I really hope that I've impressed upon you the importance of this right now, bridging this gap. I want to turn now to look at some very practical ways that we can both involve and engage families. To do this, I'm going to use the NNPS partnerships model. I'm going to take four pillars from their model, just four to look at, because I think these are the four that are most relevant to our current context. Parenting, communication, learning from home, and decision making. So I'm going to sort of walk through some of the ideas that I've had about what each of these areas might look like in practice. But we're going to do it like this. I'm going to explain what each one is. I'm going to offer some of my ideas. But I think this is a wonderful opportunity. Right now we have 407 teachers from different parts of the world, dedicated ELT professionals here. Why don't we use this as an opportunity to generate and share ideas from this international community, from you all? I would love to hear your input. A lot of the ideas, a lot of the suggestions are going to be very specific to your cultural context. So wherever it is that you're teaching in the world, how you might go about creating partnerships with families could be very, very different. So I'm curious, and I need your help here. Is everybody willing to pitch in some ideas with me for this next section? What do you think? Wonderful. I just saw a comment. I wonder if I can scroll up and catch that comment again. There was a comment, I think, from Maricel. Maricel has made a really good comment there that in some parts of the world, in the country that she's currently based, not all parents are literate, which will definitely impact the type of communication that you have with them. It in no way changes the importance of including parents in this process. There is an absolute need, if perhaps even it becomes even more important to engage parents in this process. But it does impact very much so the type of communication or the type of partnership or the tools that you use and strategies to create this, to bridge this gap. Let's have a look at the first one, shall we? So this idea of parenting and supporting parents with parenting. Here are some ideas for the ways that we can do that. Parents and caregivers, right? Let's put this in context. Parents, caregivers have new responsibilities in their child's education at the moment. And at the same time, they're busy trying to figure out their own new work from home routines. Many are trying to cope with incredible amounts of stress and anxiety about what's happening, me. And teachers can help parents and students succeed by providing them with information and resources to set up the kinds of home conditions that are physically but also emotionally conducive to learning. And here are a couple of suggestions of things that we can do. Sending home suggestions for creating self-care routines for both parents and children is something that I've seen some schools doing very successfully. I think this is important because through long stretches of being cooped up, there will undoubtedly be a price to pay. There is a toll on family members here. Therefore, I think it's really important to raise the awareness, first of all, of these kinds of self-care routines that they can do with their kids. I'd also like to see activities getting sent home, resources that are going to help parents, really help parents address conflict situations with their children. I've found it incredibly frustrating to suddenly be in a role of being a teacher of my child. All of the teachers there who have children will probably be able to relate to this feeling. You can be a wonderful classroom teacher, but when it comes to our own children, the relationship is completely different. So learning how to get through these conflict situations with our children is a great way of supporting parents. Another thing that we can do, I think, is to create a channel for parents to share their own experiences and suggestions among themselves. So creating community in your school does not just mean bridging the gap between school and home. It also means bridging the gap between the parents themselves. Creating a school community is about the relationship between everyone. So maybe creating a channel or a place where parents can, or providing a tool or even just a suggestion for ways that parents can get together in a very productive, positive way and share experiences and suggestions among themselves is another really great way of supporting with parenting. Let me show you two little examples, specific examples here. So this is actually a screenshot of a slide from a talk for parents that has lots of different suggestions for ways that they can look after their own health. Anyone who's flown on a plane knows the drill. When the oxygen mask falls, you put your own oxygen mask on first because you are in no position to help anyone else if you haven't first helped yourself. So making sure that parents are looking after themselves is a wonderful way of helping support them to be able to take care of our students. The other one here that I've got is a screenshot of a wonderful website. I will link you up to this website so you can all take a look at it. This website has all of these different conflict situations, and then it gives really good advice for parents or even for teachers. It's sort of like it takes a positive discipline approach to this kind of these kinds of situations, and it says verbatim what you can say in these situations. So these are just two ideas. I will be giving you links at the end of this session to this website and a blog post that you can read about self-care for parents and teachers. So, Emily, if you wouldn't mind, we are now going to share our ideas. Let's get some of the ideas from the community. What other ways can we support with parenting? Write your suggestions in this poll, please. Okay, I'm going to actually share some of these nice ideas here. Telling them how their students are doing. Okay. Google Forms is a great tool for getting feedback. Okay, so let's try and focus on actual parenting right now. How can we help them with the parenting situation? Parents meetings, supporting them. Okay. Okay, there are some really good points coming up here. A lot of people are suggesting parents' meetings, and this could be not just parents' meetings between teacher and one, like a teacher and a parent. This could actually be meetings between the parents themselves, letting them know that we're struggling with the situation. Okay, so some of these ideas, what I'm connecting with here from what the community is saying, there is a very strong message of the importance of showing support and empathy. So that is absolutely true. I love this idea. But how can we do that in a very practical way? I think the best thing for me, this is me just talking personally now, and you tell me if you agree with me, but I feel that the best way that the teacher can support me right now with the parenting side of things is to just listen to me. If in a meeting I am there and the teacher is just asking me, how are you doing? How is it going? How are you finding this experience? Tell me what is happening at home. And if you do this regularly, if this isn't just something, call me when you need me, if this is you taking an active step to contact the parents and ask them how things are going, find out as much as you can about the reality at school, it will be eye-opening for you. And it will it will put you in a better position to be a better teacher for those students. Unfortunately, we are starting to see some really sad cases of children who have lost family members. We're seeing families who are now in extreme financial distress because of the lockdown. So this is all things that will impact a child's ability to learn. And if you're completely unaware of what's going on at home and the struggles that parents are having at home right now, then it's going to make it very difficult for you to create classes that are going to reach your students. So I think that some of these ideas are really good. This simple concept of having a meeting to listen to the parents and creating space in that meeting for them to share their experiences is wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing. We're going to keep this dialogue going to now talk about communication. Communication seems like the most obvious way of bridging this gap. You know, now more than ever, maintaining effective and frequent communication with families needs to be a priority. It's key to strengthening any relationship, but especially now strengthening these relationships with families by building trust and confidence. You know, effective, frequent, transparent communication about what's going on is how you will build trust and confidence with these families. There are several options for creating a channel of communication, and the best choice, as we've seen already, will depend on many individual factors, including the platform that the school's been using until now, for example, school policy regarding the level of contact that teachers are allowed to have with families. I've seen examples of teachers having zero contact with parents. It's all centralized through coordination. So it will also depend on the profile of the families themselves. There will be issues in some places with literacy. So what kind of channel of communication will you create to reach those families? If possible, it is highly advisable to try and centralize all of this into one platform, online tool, or something that's going to be used as a virtual learning environment. Regardless of the platform that you choose, though, you need to make sure that everyone's informed and feels confident using it. So all of these problems that people have mentioned earlier in this session about parents struggling with technology, we can prevent those kinds of problems from appearing just by investing time in meeting with parents and providing them with some really clear, useful, effective training on how to use the tools you're adopting or the school is adopting. I think it's also really important, and this is one of the points here that I've put on this slide, is to create a culture of feedback. Depending on where you are in the world, the parents may or may not be used to giving feedback. If they're not, like in Brazil, really good feedback is hard to come by. You often get a lot of praise, but a lot of criticism in the WhatsApp groups of parents, or you get quite unproductive feedback. This has been my experience anyway here in Brazil, 8 years in Brazil. This is anecdotal evidence, but what has worked really well for me is creating a culture of feedback. So providing families with frameworks that they can use to give feedback effectively. And I really like the 3 against 1. So I invite parents to say 3 things that they've been enjoying or their children have been enjoying or that they think is working, and 1 thing that they would like to see change. By providing them with some kind of structure like this, it actually makes it a lot easier for them to get into the habit of providing constructive criticism. It's always easier to compliment first. And then if you sort of compliment, they feel okay about offering a criticism. And I think it actually makes the feedback a lot easier to handle as well. If you hear something nice, okay, this is going right, this is going right, this is going right, okay, I can improve that. I think offering a framework like that is really good. And here's the other thing you need to do. Be proactive. Ask for feedback. Don't wait for them to come to you. Ask for it regularly. Make it just part of the routine. So that's really, really important. And checking in with families, students and families via your virtual learning environment on a regular, mutually agreed schedule is a great way to encourage open two-way communication. This idea of call me when you need me does not work right now. You've got to, again, be proactive. Make and schedule regular meetings. Agree on this schedule with them as well. It has to be something that's going to fit in with families' lives. So asking for feedback regularly, this could be in a regular meeting that you have with them, or some kind of even schedule for yourself that, like, every week parents have agreed that you'll send them a message via the platform. It could be a text message to check in. You're going to ask them for feedback. You're going to ask them to tell you how things are going, and ask them to ask you a question that they have about the content from that week. That's just a really practical suggestion about how you can start improving the communication between families. This is what my son's school's doing. I found this actually really good. They are regularly sending out an official feedback form. They're doing research into what is going on, how we're responding, what we think about the amount of work that the students are getting, what we think about the frequency of this work, the quality of it, how they're really researching into this. The problem I'm having is that the answers that they're getting to this, it doesn't feel like I'm being heard, because I'm answering these and I'm not getting any kind of response from the school. But I did like the fact that they sent out feedback forms. We're using now, and this is something new something really positive that came out of the meeting yesterday. This is a little screenshot of a real conversation that I had with in my virtual learning environment. We have this app that we use to communicate with teachers and coordination. We have agreed to have regular meetings now about my son, and I'm feeling so good about that, and I'm really confident that this is going to improve dramatically the experience my son is having at home, and really improve communication between home and school. So a couple of really simple ideas here from me. I would love to open this up now and hear from you about what you think. Oh, look at this is one more idea that I absolutely love. If you're using a course book, you may find that the publishers already have a virtual learning environment that you can use very effectively to keep students and parents up to date with what's going on. This particular one, of course, is from National Geographic, and you can find this across all of the National Geographic. This can be accessed from all of the National Geographic platforms. So do check out the kind of resources, and before you race off to create your own thing from scratch, check out the resources that you may already have. Let's have a look at this next one. What other ways can we encourage communication? I would love to hear from you. This is going to be very cultural, I think. Let's have a look at some of the answers that we get from our participants here. How would you improve communication with families in your part of the world? Group chats, wonderful. Regular emails, notebook notes. Oh, I'd love to hear a little bit more about what notebook notes are. If that was you who wrote that, perhaps you could expand that idea in the chat. Using social media. WhatsApp, okay. Okay, individual video chats are great. Online weekly meetings, wonderful. Oh, a social gathering. Now there's a great idea. What a great idea. You know what I just came to mind as well? I mean, imagine if you had the school community joining each other, like all the families at home, and you offered them like some kind of mindfulness meditation session that everybody could do together, or an exercise workout for families to do with your families. Wouldn't that be a wonderful way of bringing people together and really, really helping to build this sense of community? Oh, see, this is the best thing about getting together with teachers. I think when you get teachers together, magic happens. We always bounce ideas around and come up with really amazing, amazing ideas. Okay. So some people prefer WhatsApp. Oh, I've lost the poll. Zoom meetings, class dojo, exchanging ideas through WhatsApp. Okay, so online feedback, making sure feedback goes both ways. These are very interesting ideas, very useful. Thank you very much to everyone who's contributing. Cooking classes. Oh, that is such a great idea. And if you're an English teacher and you're working in a country that is not your own, you could perhaps teach a recipe to the families from your region of the world. Oh, these ideas are fantastic. Thank you again for sharing. Okay, so let's keep moving now. Let's have a look at this next one. Learning at home. This is perhaps once you've established communication, once you've got this really good relationship going, then I think it's much easier to start giving families tips on how to make their lives easier. Establish with them how, and encourage them to guide students, but really make it clear that they're not expected to teach their children. I think that's been a massive concern from so many parents. Suddenly I have to become my child's teacher. No, you don't. You absolutely don't have to be your child's teacher. What we're aiming to do is have children working as independently as possible. But there does need to be support and guidance, and we can help parents with that. And we can do that with the spirit of wanting to make everyone's life easier, right? This isn't trying to put more workload on parents. We can send home helpful tips on how to manage at-home learning effectively. Now, this could be on topics such as setting up a workspace or organizing a daily routine, encouraging effective study habits, and of course, the importance of off-screen breaks for fresh air, exercise, and fun. So I think that is really a great tip. We need to also provide activities that invite students to talk with the parent or caregiver about something that they're interested in learning. We can encourage parents to talk more with their children, not teach their children, but just talk about what they're learning and find connections with how that language or how those skills might be used in the real world. The most important part is having them add a question or comment for you in the virtual learning environment. And I think that is really important, having this kind of loop back. So you provide them with some information, some tips, some suggestions, and then you get them coming back again to you and providing a question or expressing a doubt. This can become a very powerful way of not only helping parents and teachers understand and communicate about what children are learning. It also draws parents and students closer together as they show their work with each other, they share ideas, and they talk regularly about schoolwork and process. This is where we really start to see family engagement and family involvement having an impact on student learning and on the success of your lessons. So this is where it's at. Again, I'm going to show you a couple of little examples here. So this one is from an Instagram post that I did where I started sharing tips for parents. This particular one was about routine and the importance of routine and how they can create an effective routine in their daily lives with this new lockdown situation. And then this next one, yes, this next one is based. This is a little screenshot, a little teaser for you to see about some of the content that you're going to find in one of the blog posts. There'll be a beautiful PDF that you can download later this week. And in this PDF, I've shared 5 really amazing, powerful activities that you can get your students to do that will help them learn English, while at the same time it will involve the parents in a very meaningful way. So those are 5 homework activities that you can get them doing, coming to you later this week. There's also this. If you're using Look, you're lucky because it comes with some templates that you can use to send notes home to students. This homeschool connection, these kinds of homeschool connection letters can be difficult to write. So if you're using this course book or perhaps another course book that has a similar kind of thing, check it out. It'll give you lots of really good ideas of how to word things when speaking to parents. So I really love that idea as well. But what about you? Have you tried this? Have you got a platform that allows parents to actually monitor what it is that their students are doing? I would love to see this on Google Classrooms. That's what my son's using. I don't know if I can. I find it really difficult. So there are a lot of student and parent user-friendly platforms available already that are very easy to see, very easy for parents to see where their children are progressing and get on top of what needs to be find out where they need to provide extra support for their children with one click. So if you are using, or if you're looking for a platform, looking for a way to support parents with at-home learning, do check this out and see if you have something similar available for you. Okay. I'd like to hear from you again, please. What other ways can we support at-home learning? What suggestions do you have? Having a virtual assistant. How interesting. What an interesting idea. Interactive games. Using apps, right? So a lot of people are using apps. Okay, this is a really good point that someone's brought up, school platforms. So this is really important, I think, because your choice, the choice that you use for your virtual learning environment is really important. It should be, if possible, it should be child friendly. So it should be very easy for both parents and children to use. Oh, providing YouTube songs, that's a great way. It's such an easy, enjoyable way for parents to get involved. Just please don't send home Baby Shark. We all are sick of that one. Interactive activities. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Suggesting activities that students can do with their parents. I think this is really important, but the reason I decided to share 5 examples is because we need to be very mindful of the context when we are designing activities to do with parents. You do not want them doing anything that requires a lot of work and effort from the parent, please. Parents are already struggling as it is. It's really important that we choose activities that are going to be very easy, quick, but meaningful. Also, in terms of materials, don't have them having to go out and buy lots of materials. What kind of activities can you think of designing that involve just the materials that they have at home? All of these little considerations make a big difference to a parent's life, and therefore make a big difference to the relationship that you have with those parents. Don't be that teacher who's expecting parents to create, massive science experiments at home and having to go to trying to source these materials, these obscure materials, in order to get the child's homework done. It's just a nightmare right now. So be mindful of that. Writing a quarantine diary, I think, is a wonderful idea as well. There are some really nice ideas. If you can, check out the comments section and do check out the results to these polls as well, because it's very interesting to see some of the ideas that are coming from the community here, that they're very, very nice. Oh, a vlog. I love that. Wonderful ideas. Thank you very, very much. So the last category that we're going to be talking, I'm about to wrap this up, but the last category that we're going to be talking about is decision making. Let me say this. Building a genuine partnership means not just sharing responsibilities, but also sharing decision making. This will only happen if opportunities are given for parents and caregivers to share their views, to give feedback, and to establish shared goals for the improvement of remote learning programs and ultimately student success. I know that educators are in the best position to make decisions about the education of children, but right now, parents have got opinions about this, and very valid ones, and they need to be heard. If you're going to make this a success, again, this is the message that I hope I have repeated throughout this talk, because I really believe it, that in order for this to be a successful experience, we really need to be leading with our ears at this moment and engaging parents and really bringing them in as partners for making some important decisions about how to move forward. Remember, this session is new for everyone. Nobody knows quite what to do, and we're all just really making it up as we go along and trying our absolute best. If we work together with parents now, we're going to be in a much better position of improving what it is that we're doing from here on out. And I know this will be this is only a temporary situation, but while we're here it's been weeks here in Brazil now, it's probably going to be many more weeks yet. We really do need to ultimately aim for student success at remote learning and teaching. And I hope that I've been able to give you some ideas about this in this session. We've talked about a lot of things, and I'd love to hear, this is perhaps the most important one. How can parents contribute to decision making in your opinion? What kinds of decision can you imagine them taking? I'd love to hear what you think. What kinds of decision do you think? Mm. Okay, so I'm going to put this question to you in a slightly different way. What would you like what kind of decisions do you think parents could contribute to? For example, I would hate to see parents trying to dictate how a teacher should deliver their content. Unless the teacher is unless the parent has a background in education and has been trained like we all have, I feel that would be not helpful contribution. But where do you think parents could make helpful contributions to the decision making in your own context? What do you think? Right. Maricel has suggested letting parents decide about the platforms that they want their children to be using. Parents and teachers agreeing about the progress of learning for the learners. Oh my goodness. Marianita, this is so important for us to get on the same page about expectations of what can happen in this period. I love this idea. Thank you very much for sharing. David has said a really nice thing as well. Clearly defined learning goals in consultation with parents. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you for making these suggestions. They're great. Oh, okay. So what format would be best? Online, like synchronous, asynchronous, blended. Okay. Hussein has just suggested getting parents on board and discussing and making decisions about online safety and learning assessment. Excellent. These are all really good suggestions. Excellent, excellent. So a lot of suggestions for using polls and Google Forms. Wonderful. Thank you so much for all of your contributions. I think these are all very valid and very useful. We're wrapping up now, and I'd like to wrap up by sharing with you some of the resources that I've used for this session, for the research behind this session. You may be interested in reading about this topic further, particularly if you're in school management. Learning more about this, you can check out these resources, these references. I will let you know. Also that we have more resources coming on this topic from National Geographic on the blog. I think you've probably all seen the blog from National Geographic. It's called Focus, National Geographic Learning. So if you go to the website National Geographic Learning, the name of the blog is In Focus, and you're going to find later on this week, you're going to find a blog post about this topic from me and some other resources that I'm happy to be sharing there for you, including these 5 activities that I promised you. My hope is that from here on out, we will all start prioritizing this homeschool link, that we can somehow find a way of bridging this gap through the screen and bringing families into this, not just involving them, not just telling them what to do, but actually engaging them and making them partners in this process. I'd like to thank you all very much for being here. If you do have any questions for me, I'm going to remain here for a little bit longer to answer some of these questions. Hello, Emily.
Claire. Um, that was great. While the questions come in here, I can just give some wrap-up points. First off, thanks everyone so much for attending. Thank you, Claire, for such a wonderful and
Wasn't
interactive
that great?
session. I hope you all found it useful.
I really enjoyed the input from the participants. It was great to hear those ideas.
Great. And we'll be sending your input along to Claire for her blog post, so some of that might be incorporated there. But thank you so much, everyone. Um, as we wrap up, just a few notes. I've seen some questions about the slides and the recording and the certificate. We will be sending this all along to you. So you'll get that in about 5 business days from now. And we'll also include a link to the blog post there too. Great. Thanks, everyone. And just one other note to mention, Claire showed during the session a progress report and a messaging system from the online learning platform from National Geographic Learning. Um, this platform hosts online practice for learners of English and helps teachers manage classrooms, assign work, and allows parents to even track student progress. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I can just put the link in here now to view a short video on it. But you can always contact your National Geographic Learning rep depending on where you are in the world. And just so you know also too, National Geographic Learning, we're here to support you with the transition to virtual teaching. Many programs include digital components for teachers and students, making them ideal for online classrooms and blending learning environment. You can talk to your National Geographic Learning rep or visit our website to learn more. And also, we just hope you join us for another webinar. We have several throughout the month of May and into June to help support you as well too if you enjoyed the session. So I hope you come back again. And Claire is actually repeating this session later on today. It's at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 5 p.m. in Brazil, where Claire is. Tell any of your colleagues if they miss this session, we'd love to have them there. I'm going to direct everyone to a feedback survey now. We'd love to hear what you thought about the session. And please do let us know if you have any topics you'd like to hear about in the future. We're constantly adding new sessions. And yeah, Claire just put one question in the chat box. Claire, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I just saw a question passing through quite quickly in the chat box there. How can we deal with parents who don't show interest in supporting their child academically? This is a really tough one, and I think I would definitely lead with empathy. And before I made any judgments about whether or not a parent was interested in supporting their child academically, I would do a lot of work first on bringing that parent in and creating a relationship with that parent, finding out about the context that that child is living in, and that the reality of that family and what might be going on that might in from the outside not be obvious, but once you do a little bit of digging, you might find out a lot of things about that family that explains an apparent disinterest. And then once you've found out more about that family's reality, it becomes a lot easier to then make a decision about the best kind of support that family needs. But certainly leading always with empathy right now, empathy and patience for everyone involved in this very stressful situation. That's my advice.
Great. And well, I think we're over time, so we're going to wrap it up there, but we are saving a log of all of these great
Thanks
comments.
very much, everyone.
And thanks so much, Claire. And just a reminder, please do join the National Geographic Learning Community of Teachers. We have our webinar program, the InFocus blog Claire mentioned, as well as social media channels. So we hope you can connect with us and continue this great, sharing of teachers' resources and all of your wonderful ideas. So happy teaching and stay safe, everyone. You're all doing great.
Thank
All
you.
right, bye,
Bye bye.
Claire. Bye, everyone.